before we get to what you're looking for out of the Sooners and Brent Venables' staff, Isaiah Thomas was on the RJ Young show sometime this week, and I saw a 2-minute clip in which he basically took us through the timeline from his perspective of the Lincoln Riley meeting with the players, how he left the team, and whether you saw that or just, we didn't really review the Lincoln Riley departure from the standpoint of not necessarily the decision he made, but how he went through the process of meeting with his players, and just your thoughts about that situation that continues to really resonate with people.
Yeah, Mark, it's interesting. In the 21st century, it is increasingly difficult to pull off as much subterfuge as Lincoln Riley managed to pull off in the weeks and months leading up to his departure. And when I say that, what I mean is there was not a soul within that building or elsewhere that thought USC was even on the table. In fact, as you'll recall, all of the rumors leading up to that fateful Sunday when he announced that he was taking the USC job, all of the rumblings that we heard were for Lincoln Riley to LSU, right? It's LSU is making a strong push for Lincoln Riley. Oh, talks are intensifying between Lincoln Riley and LSU. Oh, there's an offer on the table for Lincoln Riley to be LSU's head coach. Now, look, I know a few things with regard to how it all went down, Mark. First off, Lincoln Riley had the LSU offer. If that job was the one he wanted, he could have had it. However, the reason why USC was more appealing to Lincoln Riley, at least ostensibly, and from what we know, is that he really wasn't on board with Oklahoma's move to the SEC. That was not something that he was looped in on. Those conversations within the administration were happening without his knowledge up until about the time that Oklahoma announced, or I guess didn't really announce, but it became public via that report from the newspaper down in Texas that, it's a possibility that OU and Texas are going to be leaving for the SEC here soon. And then within, I think, 2 weeks, it was official, and the SEC had 2 new charter members. So with that in mind, and kind of with the knowledge that Lincoln Riley didn't really want any part of the SEC, we had it on pretty good authority that LSU wasn't going to be the destination. Now, I will say this, there were folks within that building and within the program that were preparing contingencies in the event that he were to leave for LSU. Most everyone figured that if he was going to leave, it would be for that LSU job. So the announcement that he was going to USC really blindsided everybody. And in hindsight, it's probably something that everybody should have paid a little bit closer attention to, because that job had been open for almost 3 months with essentially radio silence as to who was in contention for the occupation and who the leader in the clubhouse was, who was on the table as far as the candidates that the Trojans were pursuing. Now, from the player's perspective and from the coach's perspective, when the news was announced on that Sunday and when he held the team meeting to let everybody know that he would be headed out west to USC, there were a lot of hurt feelings. And, we talked about this at length a couple months ago in the immediate aftermath of it all, Mark. And the reality is, I don't think anybody in the Oklahoma circle, whether players or coaches, administrators, fans, I don't think they would have had any issue with Lincoln Riley leaving if he hadn't left in the manner in which he did, which was misleading everybody, proclaiming, in hindsight, while he did proclaim or seemed to proclaim that OU was the job he wanted to be at in the long term and that he had no intention of moving on, he always left the door cracked open just enough. And it was an all-time chestnut checkers move on that Saturday night when he looked reporters in the face and said, "I'm not going to be the next head coach at LSU." So yeah, that's really what it boils down to. And that's what the frustration is. It's not that he left. It's simply that he left the way that he did, and that there was such an effort to, and I don't want to necessarily say mislead everybody, but to conceal the truth as to where things stood between him and USC.
And also calling into question his investment in the 2021 season for an Oklahoma team that was positioned, many thought, to make a serious run at the playoff, and they were still almost right there anyway, even without some compromises and that disclaimer. So we'll never know what it could have been with a fully focused Lincoln Riley in 2021.